Wow, what a difference a weekend can make, right? We are talking about a total, complete paradigm shift in the global landscape, and it all happened in less than 48 hours. So let's just dive right in because the world that investors thought they knew, well, it's pretty much gone. I want you to think back to just last Friday. It feels like a lifetime ago, doesn't it? The entire conversation, the only thing anyone seemed to care about was economics. Traders were sweating this hotter than expected inflation report, trying to game out what the Fed was going to do next. It was all about spreadsheets, data points, and interest rates. And then, boom, the whole script just got thrown out the window. By Sunday night, that inflation report, it seemed like ancient history. The new fear, the one that was consuming everything, was the very real start of a hot war in the Middle East. And not just any war, one with massive global implications. So that's the big question, isn't it? What on earth happened over one weekend to send global markets into such a complete tailspin? That's what we're going to break down right now. Okay, it all kicks off with a military operation that basically redrew the geopolitical map overnight. We're talking about Operation Epic Fury. So what exactly is Operation Epic Fury? Well, it's a massive, coordinated military campaign. And when I say massive, I mean it. We're talking about over 2,000 targets struck inside Iran. The stated goal? It's incredibly ambitious. They're aiming to completely take apart Iran's missile, naval, and nuclear infrastructure. And the results, right out of the gate, were absolutely seismic. I mean, the operation reportedly killed Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei. Just think about that. A huge power vacuum just opened up. On top of that, high-level military command was wiped out, a key naval ship was sunk, and to cap it all off, the White House is signaling that this isn't just a one-and-done strike. This could go on for 4 or 5 weeks. And this whole thing escalated at lightning speed. The first strikes hit on Saturday. By Sunday, Iran was already retaliating, firing waves of missiles at Israel and at dozens of U.S. bases in the region. Then we got the confirmation: 3 American service members killed. And then the news that really shook the global economy: Iran's Revolutionary Guard effectively shut down the Strait of Hormuz. So that brings us to the economic shockwave. Because let's be real, a military conflict in the Middle East, especially this one, it never just stays regional. The ripples spread fast and they hit every single market on the planet. Okay, to really get why everyone is panicking, you have to understand this one little sliver of water, the Strait of Hormuz. It's like the carotid artery for the world's energy supply. A full 20% of all global oil flows through there. Another 20% of all LNG. When that gets clogged, or in this case, closed, the entire global energy system has a heart attack. And you could see the market react instantly. It was a classic flight to safety. Money just poured out of anything considered risky. Think tech and growth stocks, airlines, financials, basically anything that depends on a stable, growing global economy. And where did all that money go? Well, it ran straight to the things that do well in times of conflict and chaos. We're talking defense and aerospace, oil and gas companies, and the classic safe havens, gold and the US dollar. And here's what that looks like in plain numbers. Energy prices didn't just go up, they exploded. Brent crude, that's the global benchmark for oil, it shot up almost 9% the second the markets opened. That's the market pricing in the fear of a massive supply shock, and it's happening in real time. Now, this isn't just some abstract problem for Wall Street traders. No, analysts are really clear about this. A big spike in oil prices acts like a hidden tax on every single one of us. It makes it more expensive to fill up your car, sure, but it also raises the cost to transport goods, to manufacture, well, everything. It even raises the cost of food. This threatens to kick off a whole new wave of global inflation. And if all that wasn't enough, you've got this other massive problem compounding everything: the situation back in Washington, D.C. Right at the exact moment you need a strong, unified government to handle an international crisis, Washington is basically paralyzed by infighting and a government shutdown. For 17 days now, major parts of the U.S. federal government have been shut down. You've got this funding stalemate, and it means critical agencies are running on skeleton crews right when this huge international crisis is exploding and needs a full-throttle, coordinated American response. So as you can imagine, this has just ignited a firestorm of a constitutional debate. On one side, you have the administration. Their justification is basically, we didn't start this, but we're going to finish it. On the other side, you have critics in Congress, especially Democrats, who are blasting this as an unauthorized war of choice. And they're pointing to the fact that the Pentagon itself has said there wasn't clear intelligence that Iran was about to launch a first strike. And really, the core of the argument against the action is this. Critics are saying that launching a military campaign of this size, one that immediately got Americans killed and threw the global economy into chaos, without getting any kind of approval from Congress, is a major violation of constitutional duty. Okay, so that's the new reality we're all living in. It's a lot to process. Now, let's look ahead. What are the key things you need to be watching for as we head into what's going to be an incredibly tense week? We've got a ton of major economic data coming out. The usual stuff, the ISM manufacturing report, the big US jobs report on Friday. But here's the thing. None of these numbers will be looked at the same way they were last week. Now, every single data point is going to be seen through this brand new filter of war, of energy price shocks, and the very real possibility of a global recession. And that brings us to what is basically the absolute worst case scenario for the Federal Reserve and other central bankers. It's a word you might have heard before, stagflation. It's this ugly, toxic mix where you have slowing, stagnant economic growth, but at the same time you have high inflation being juiced by this oil price shock. It is the absolute hardest economic problem to fix. We also need to keep a close eye on what companies themselves are telling us. We've got earnings reports from big retailers like Target and Costco. Those are going to be a huge health check on the US consumer. Are people still spending? And then on the tech side, all eyes are on Broadcom. Their earnings are going to be a real litmus test for that whole AI boom. Can it survive a major macro shock like this? So all of this, it leaves us with one huge hanging question. In a world where you've got a shooting war, stubbornly high inflation rearing its head again, and political paralysis at home, what is the ultimate safe haven? Where do you even put your money? That's not just a theoretical question anymore. It's the question every single investor is trying to answer right now.